almost all of the flocks, the sheep and the lamb that Laban had, zenye zilikuwa na alama, Jacob was able to multiply them to, what's the better term? Alizitumia kupata a bigger, yes, alizalisha, zikakuwa large than what Laban had. So, zikakuwa maradufu. So, Rachel and Leah are asking Jacob, do we still have any share in the inheritance of our father's estate? Does he not regard us as foreigners? Not only has he sold us, but he has used up what was paid for us. Surely all the wealth that God took away from our father belongs to us and to our children. So, hii wealth kenye Jacob amefanya ikakuwa mingi, it belongs to who? To Rachel, Leah, and their children. So, verse 17, then Jacob put his children and his wives on camels, and he drove all his livestock ahead of him, along with all the goods he had accumulated in Padan Aram, to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Then Laban had gone to shear his sheep. Rachel stole her father's household gods. Moreover, Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him he was running away. So he fled with all he had, crossed the Euphrates River, and headed for the hill country of Gilead. So again, we are seeing these two characters, Laban and Rachel. You remember Laban loved Rachel, but both were his wives, Leah and Rachel. So we are seeing them plotting to escape without telling Laban. And now we see Rachel stealing the household gods. Sijui household gods zinaweza kuwa nini?
Miungu.
Miungu, yeah. Maybe made of gold.
Yeah.
Because I think there was something worthy for her to steal. And we are seeing Jacob deceiving Laban by not telling him he's planning to go away. So, verse 1 to 2, we see Laban's attitude towards Jacob has changed. Before alimkaribisha vizuri, but now because Jacob has accumulated a lot of wealth, and wealth comes with power. Ukiona mtu ni tajiri sana utaogopa, si ndio? Yes, so Laban's son said Jacob took everything from Laban, and God instructed Jacob to go back to Canaan. Verse 4 to 9, we see Jacob explaining to Rachel and Leah how their father cheated him for years. You remember he worked for 14 years. After that, his father also asked him, Laban also asked Jacob to stay, and they had an agreement. Mshahara yake itakuwa all the animals that had madoadoa. The ones that were speckled, spotted, those were his wages, but still, he cheated despite Jacob working so hard. Verse 10 to 13, we see Jacob telling Leah and Rachel about the dream he had, where God saw all that Laban did to Jacob, and also God instructed Jacob to leave for Canaan. So sometimes we are in a situation where it is time to go. In life, there are many challenges that we may encounter, be it in your workplace, in different places, unaweza pata changamoto tofauti, and it reaches a time you feel like it is time to leave. And also God directs you. Hata unaweza acha a certain job and you get a bigger job, you get a promotion. So sometimes you get too comfortable, kwa job, or even in your mindset, and God is opening another opportunity, moving you. So don't ever stay in a place that God hasn't instructed you to stay, because you will not be fulfilled. Melo hapo. Yeah. So we've seen Jacob being told by God in a dream to go back to Canaan. Si Mungu alikuwa amemwahidi atakuwa na yeye, popote ataenda atamlinda, atambariki. So God has seen whatever Laban is doing to Jacob. Laban amekuwa mwerevu sana. So God is trying to save who? God is trying to save who? Yes, Jacob. So he has to go back to his father's land. So verse 19 to 21, Rachel stole her father's household gods, and Jacob deceived Laban by not saying that he was leaving. So you remember about deceiving, we said whatever you plant is what you shall reap. And I also think Laban was not so straight. So ndio Rachel aibe, hii character ametoka kwa baba yake. Ndio, because whatever you do, your children will copy that. Ukiwa mwizi, watoto wako watakuwa wezi. Whatever you teach them, if you teach them the ways of the Lord, that is what they shall do. Even if they depart from it, bado watarudi. Because hapo ndio, because hiyo ndio msingi. Yes. So I had a question when verse 19, when I saw verse 20, when I saw, yes, 19 to 21, when I saw Rachel stealing her father's household gods, and when I saw Jacob, the Bible telling us that Jacob deceived Laban. So my question was, why did they have to live this way if God had blessed their journey? You remember we talked about manipulation, and we also talked, I think in verse 29, 30 behind, we spoke about saa zingine God amekusetia this plan, but you want to be mwerevu zaidi. You want to create your own way. You want to do things your own way. So God had already spoken to Jacob na amembariki. He has already asked him to go to Canaan, but instead they're still being brave. Rachel, on the other hand, she's stealing, and Jacob is deceiving Laban. So let's read on and see what happens. Also, point to note, Jacob doesn't know that Rachel stole the gods. Sawa? So let's read on and see what happens. The Bible is so, the Bible, if you love reading books or novels, the Bible is such a good book, a sweet book. When you read on history, as it goes on to transpire, it's so funny. Because of this verse, I just read it, this chapter, and I was laughing. What Rachel will do. So let's go on and see. Laban pursues Jacob. Verse 22. On the third day, Laban was told that Jacob had fled, taking his relatives with him. He pursued Jacob for the 7 days and caught up with him in the hill country of Gilead. Then God said to Laban the Aramean in a dream at night and said to him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country of Gilead, where Laban overtook him, and Laban and his relatives camped there too. Then Laban said to Jacob, "What have I done? What have you done? You've deceived me, and you've carried off my daughters like captives in war. Why did you run off secretly and deceive me? Why did you tell me so I could send you away with joy, singing to the music of timbrels and harp? You didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters goodbye. You have done a foolish thing. I have the power to harm you, but last night the God of your fathers said to me, 'Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad.'" So niko na swali. When the Lord spoke to Laban through a dream, his words were very, maneno ya Mungu inakuanga very strict. Yes? So alimwambia he should not speak, he should be very careful not to speak to Jacob, either good or bad. But we are seeing Laban bado anaenda kuongea. He was not